Hello. This webinar is brought to you by Illinois Department of Central Management Services and Illinois Sentry Network. I'm going to talk with you today about the E-rate Form 471. Now, the deadline to file the Form 471 has been extended by 3 weeks to the end of day on April the 16th. That's 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on April the 16th. And what I'm going to talk to you today about is an overview of the Form 471 and describe at a high level the key building blocks that make up the Form 471. And then most importantly, I will direct you to where you can get more information on the USAC website. That's the Universal Service Administrative Company website, where there's a lot of further information on the Form 471, including Form 471 step-by-step instructions, as well as additional videos to show you how to file Form 471. And these videos walk through step-by-step the 471. This slide shows an overview of the 471. You'll see that there are 4 key data areas of the form, which are called Block 1, Build Entity Information, Block 4, Discount Calculation, Block 5, Funding Request, and Block 6, Certifications and Signature. Blocks 2 and 3 are reserved, and you don't input information in these blocks. Now, every entity that is responsible for making payments directly to a service provider is called a billed entity, and each billed entity must file a separate Form 471. You must also file Form 471s, a separate Form 471 for Category 1 and Category 2 services. So if you're filing a funding request or filing a funding request for Category 1 and Category 2, you'll file one Form 471 for Category 1 and a separate Form 471 for Category 2. And also, you are allowed to file multiple Form 471s if you want. Now, in the following slides, I'm going to go through at a high level what each of these blocks require in terms of data entry. So Block 1 is Build Entity Information. So this is where you enter in your build entity number, and that is a number assigned by USAC. You would enter in the FCC registration number assigned by the FCC, as well as the build entity name, address, and various pieces of contact information. Now, regarding the build entity number, if you don't already have one, you can call USAC, and also for the FCC registration number, if you don't have one or you have forgotten it, you can call the FCC. And in the instruction document that I'll point to later, you'll have contact information as to how to contact USAC or the FCC to get those numbers. So the first block of data entry is fairly straightforward. It's this build entity information, and it really is the name, address, contact info, as I mentioned here. Next is Block 4, the discount calculation. And this is where the school district discount or the discount that should be used for libraries, which is based on the school district, is determined. Now, in this block, you would enter the school district or library system, as well as every school or library in that school district or library system. Now, whether they're receiving service or not, you would enter that school or library into this block. Also, non-instructional non-instructional facilities should also be included in this list. Now, as well as as you're listing out each school or library, the attributes for each entity will also be input. And that is, for example, in the school, it's the number of full-time or part-time students at the school. For a library, it's the square footage inside the four walls of the library, as well as other relevant information for the school or library. For example, the state school identifier code would be input here. So a set of attributes for each school or library. Then the system will automatically calculate the school district's discount percentage based on the information you've input. And this will be your E-rate discount percentage. And finally, it is in this section where there are survey questions regarding your current connectivity. And this is for the FCC and USAC to obtain more information regarding your current connectivity. So that is block 4 in the block 4 data. There are Excel spreadsheets which you can use that will allow you to enter data first in the Excel spreadsheet and then upload the data to this block 4 section. For block 5, this is where you enter in funding request information. And you will enter or create a separate funding request for the reasons listed here. So, for example, if you are getting service from several different service providers, you would create a funding request for each of those service providers. If you have a separate contract, a funding request per contract. You'd have a funding request for each service type by the same provider. Any voice services would need a separate funding request, and also if you have long-distance voice from a provider separate from the local phone service, you would need a separate funding request. And then also you would need a separate funding request for services ordered on different Form 470s, as well as services that qualify for an exemption from the FCC 470 reporting requirement. So please, be aware that it's likely that you'll be filing separate funding requests or multiple funding requests in the same E-rate Form 471. And in each block 5, you would be providing detailed information about the service, and that includes the type of service as well as the eligible and ineligible costs. And then you'd be selecting the school and library entities receiving that service. So this is the information for block 5. And finally, block 6 is where you have the certifications and signature for the Form 471. And you can certify the form online if you have a PIN number. If you don't have a PIN number, then it can be certified by mail. And one key point I want to stress is that you please read carefully each certification and check the box as required. Not every box should be checked, and it does depend on your particular circumstances. So please read carefully each question. Checking each box, again, will depend on your particular circumstances. And this slide gives you the links where you can get more information from the USAC website. And in the following second half of this webinar, I will be showing you online what this information is and working with you to get this information. We're now going to look at the USAC website, and I'm going to navigate you to some very useful and important information that will help you as you're completing your Form 471. Before I do that, I want to mention something about filing the Form 471. When you file a Form 471, that means you have selected a service provider for the service that you specified in your Form 470 or in an RFP. It is important that you have done your bid evaluation at least 28 days after the Form 470 or the RFP is made available. So the Form 470, and if you have done an RFP, the RFP, both must be publicly available and accessible for at least 28 days before you do your bid evaluation. And remember, the bid evaluation has to be documented. You should also have selected the service provider with cost effectiveness being the highest weight. And in your documentation, the date of that bid evaluation should be at least 28 days after the 470 and the RFP is made available. So that's a key and important part regarding choosing a service provider in the bid evaluation process. If you, for example, start your bid evaluation and choose a service provider before the 28 days, then you're going to get denied funding from USAC. Okay, now let's go to the USAC website. And this is the USAC website I'm sure you're familiar with. We click on the schools and libraries area, and we go to this location here, E-rate modernization order. First place to start is click here under forms, and what you see here is instructions on completing the Form 471. Now if you open up this PDF, this is a detailed step-by-step set of instructions for completing the Form 471. And I recommend that you print this out and read it carefully and follow it as you're going through the Form 471. This is a PDF version of the 471 for your reference purposes only. You cannot use this to file. As I'm sure you're aware, you have to file online in this funding year 15 for the 471. With respect to optional templates, now there are templates you can use that are Excel spreadsheets whereby you can enter in the information into the Excel spreadsheet and then upload that information to the online Form 471. And as you see here, there are templates for the discount calculation, block 4, and also templates here for the funding request, block 5. So, based on the quantity of information you need to enter, this could be very useful for you. Now another location, so I've stepped back, we're back into the E-rate modernization order page, and another useful link is this online filing guides. So here we have more instructions for completing the discount calculation section of the Form 471, so that's the block 4. And another important piece of information is this here, which is the discount calculation import copy function. And this if you follow these instructions, you can import from the template the discount calculation information that I just mentioned, but also you can copy from another Form 471, and that is obviously going to be very useful if you are going to file two Form 471s, and you will need to file two Form 471s if you're requesting both Category 1 and Category 2 services. With that function, you'll be able to copy without having to re-enter all the information. Next, let's look at news briefs. Now, if we click on news briefs, what you see here is USAC, over the past several months, have issued a news brief on a particular topic. And so if you have a question on a particular topic, you might find the answer in one of these news briefs. So that's a useful, this is a useful link. Online filing guidance videos. So let's click on here. And we have videos here that specifically applies for the Form 471. So we have the video on how to use the urban rural lookup tool. And then regarding the Form 471, obviously I recommend you start here before you begin, starting your application, continuing your application, and then discount calculation video, funding request video. So you can continue in your application. That relates to the fact that you can file your form, or you can start your Form 471 and then save it at a later date, or save it to be worked on at a later date. You don't have to sort of all complete it all in one session. So these are useful videos here. And then finally, there is the training website that you can use it if you want. This is a sort of a duplicate for Form 71 website where you can practice entering in information, but please be aware, obviously this is just a training website, and it just helps you to get familiar with the Form 471 page. So to access that, you go to Forms here, you scroll all the way down to the page, and it says Training Site for Online Filing. We click here, and this is a training site, this is instructions, and what you see here it tells you what build entity name to use, what number to use. So this is dummy data that you can use to for this training website, and there's more instructions here. So, and it's telling you here what further dummy information to use. And I'll just repeat what it says here, this reminder. The training website appears identical to the Apply Online page. However, it is for training and practice only. Forms filled out here and filed or certified on this site will not be reviewed by USAC staff. So please don't forget that when you're doing this form, if you are on the training website, don't forget you obviously have to apply on the real website, which is this here, Apply Online. Then you would click here to apply. Okay, good luck in your Form 471 filing, and please remember to file before the deadline on April the 16th. Thank you.